Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. So this is like just an impromptu live stream. I want to show you a bit of the action taking place at Starbase currently, courtesy of NASA Spaceflight. And currently they are busy stacking the Super Heavy. Apologies for the sounds at the start, had some difficulty starting the stream, but without further ado, let's take a look. Like I said, this is courtesy of NASA Spaceflight. This is currently taking place at Boca Chica, the stacking of the Starship SN20 on the BN or the booster number 4. Like you can see, there is the Starship being lifted. Let me just make this a bit smaller so you can see a bit clearer. And this is courtesy of NASA Spaceflight. And apologies, you are going to hear some background noises now and then. This is an unplanned live stream, so you will hear dogs bark and so on. Yeah, so if you want to take a look at this with commentary from people that's got a bit more knowledge potentially about spaceflight, you are more than welcome to check out NASA Spaceflight. They are streaming it live. The link is in the description, but if you want to stay on my channel, you're more than welcome. You can check it out here. Yeah, don't want to chase you away from my channel. I'm trying to grow it. So yeah. Let me just transition there a bit. I'm not going to be speaking the whole time. The idea here is for you to check out the stacking of the Starship. You'll notice on the Starship there's many apologies, there's many things that will seem unfinished in terms of what the Starship and the booster looks like. You'll see, for example, the heat shield tiles and stuff. There's spaces where there is no heat shield tiles, like on the booster or the Starship there. And I think the reason for that being it's not really finished 100%. At this stage I think there will probably be still some changes to it. That's a very nice view. That's like a once in a lifetime photograph opportunity. I think Elon Musk is not really that concerned with what the Starship looks like at this stage. At this stage, I think they just want to prove the concept, prove that it can work and that it will work. Like I said previously, this is to get confidence up, and I suspect they might be taking the Starship off of the booster after this, potentially, because like I said, it doesn't seem like it's finished. There's a lot of work still to be done on the Starship and the booster, and I think this is like a test for them to see what they can change or what they should change before the actual launch takes place. So I think there might be some changes coming up, I don't know. But it's quite an interesting process. It was quite a mission for them to get the booster in place. I think the Starship being placed on top of the booster might be a bit easier compared to the booster being put in place, but at least this is like a way for them to see what is the potential problems and what they need to change in future in terms of design and so on. and that is nearly done. Unfortunately, I only saw that saw that they were live streaming a short while back. Otherwise, I would have started a long time back. But they are nearly done putting the Starship on top of the Super Heavy. The Starship on top of the Super Heavy is actually taller than the Atlas or the what was it? The Apollo missions rockets. Dash. Now I've got a blonde moment. Can't remember the rocket's name. Was it Saturn V? Oh, Atlas. Well, no, that's a different one. But in any case, it's I think 120 meters high. Which makes it the highest rocket as far as I know. I think you can see the three vacuum Raptor engines there underneath the big cones. It looks like them. I think it's 6 engines at the moment on the Starship. I think it's 3 Raptors and 3 vacuum Raptors as far as I know. Like I said previously, this is footage courtesy of NASASpaceflight. Do yourself a favor and check out their channel. They're always covering, well, literally everything that's happening. You'll see a separate notification on their channel when stuff like this happens. And this video is actually to encourage you to sign up so you can see what's happening as it happened. Yeah, those heat shield tiles, the black areas, those like checker blocks, they are the heat shield tiles, and the reason that you only see them on the Starship and not on the booster below it is that the Starship goes into orbit out of the Earth's atmosphere and has to re-enter, and the heat shield or heat shield tiles protects it from the heat, extreme heat that's generated when it comes back into the Earth's atmosphere. And the booster itself, like on one of the comments that I answered earlier, it's like one way to explain it, the booster itself works like a tugboat to a degree, but only taking starships up. So in other words, you can have 6 boosters, for example, and 20 starships, and the 6 boosters can service all those 20 starships. That's why I'm saying it's like a tugboat to a degree, and that's where the rapid reusability comes in. You don't need the same amount of boosters as starships, and you don't necessarily need a booster when you go to the moon or to Mars. Well, it depends on the gravity of the specific object or planet that you're going to. Like, for instance, the moon missions, there won't be any booster involved there, because there's much less gravity than on Earth, and you will have enough thrust from those engines, and you don't need to carry that much fuel that's going to make you heavy. So you can lift heavier payloads or use lots less fuel, actually both. Like I said, I don't think they're going to launch the Starship and the booster. They are going to launch them, but I mean, they're not going to launch them anytime soon. I think they're probably going to take the Starship off again after a while, and maybe take it back to the mid-bay and high bay or so, but they're not going to launch it in this, after stacking them like this. Eventually, yes. I hope everyone's having a fabulous Friday. Personally, for me, I'm kind of quiet. My wife's at work at the moment, and I was expecting them to only air this a bit later today. That's why my stream actually started with a lot of glitches. Now, I suspect those are the vacuum raptors that's visible underneath the big cones. I don't think the raptors themselves one can actually see. It doesn't look like it. But like you can see, there is a few spaces where the heat shield tiles are not complete for some reason. That's why I believe they are gonna take it back down at some stage, and that this is just like a rehearsal to see how the infrastructure they have is operating, and to find out what they need to change before they are going to launch. Those are the grid fins that you see next to the guys on the lift, next to the booster. So those grid fins, Elon Musk were actually asked by the everyday astronaut how much they weigh, and he said, I think about 3 tons. So it could be in the area of around 3 tons per grid fin. And as far as I know, those grid fins, the launch support tower, once completed, but like I said, they're still busy with the design, but once completed, the launch support tower will catch the booster on a mechanism, and it will catch it by the grid fins at the grid fin area, if I'm not mistaken. But it's still under design, and I'm not sure if they're gonna change it in a new way. And yeah, if you are interested in Everyday Astronaut, please, I think he's had one interview already with Elon Musk when he walked through the starbase, and he asked some questions and so on. I think he said he split it up into 3 sections, so Everyday Astronaut will bring out, I think, 2 more videos in regards to the interview walkthrough he had with Elon Musk. But it's quite interesting. He's got a strange way of communicating, Elon Musk. It's like he talks, but he stops and he thinks and he pauses for quite some time before he says something. It's like he runs everything through his mind before he says anything. Well, you see it at the bottom of the Starship. There's a few places that it seems like there's no heat shield tiles. And that's why I think they're probably going to take it down again and complete some sections of it, or maybe edit even some parts of the design. I actually wish they would show the angle from the other angle. That's a bit better. Let me move this window of mine and see if I can get a that's a bit better. So now you can see the Starship on top of the booster. Like I said, I think that's about 120 meters in height. I would like to know what the total weight would be of the Starship and the Super Heavy once it's fueled. And like I said, the way the Starship and the booster looks currently, this is like a prototype, and there is going to be changes. There's always going to be changes. It's funny, you can see those people's heads poking out from behind the booster number 3, just in between the Starship and the booster. Looks strange, looks like they're going to be squashed. But they are on the other side. If you're worried, don't be. I'm not sure the crane they're using. I think I heard someone calling it Cranezilla. Then I heard another name as well, Mechazilla or something. I don't know. They've got all kinds of strange names, these guys at Starbase. Yes, I had some major issues in regards to software earlier, but at least it was sorted. Now you can see those guys guiding it. It's funny, even a structure as big as the Starship and booster, they actually guide it by hand once it's hanging from the crane. That's unbelievable. I'm not sure what the Starship's weight is though. I know the booster they said is 160 tons. Technically speaking, the Starship actually does not need the super heavy, the booster on which it sits to get, apologies, into orbit. It can get into space, but it would be actually kind of pointless. Like I said previously, the thing is, it's not going to have any use if you do it like that. That's why you have the booster, because you can't load anything on the Starship if you want to send it into orbit and then come back. You're not going to have any payload. So yeah, that's why you have the booster, and that's the whole point. And later on they are going to have Starship tanker versions as well, but that's all relying on the Starship, well, succeeding, being proven that it works. Yes, every time I see these grid fins, they seem to look bigger. I think that launch platform on which the rocket sits, it's about 30 or 40 meters in the air on its own. That the one from the bottom up until the base of the booster. So which means the Starship's tip is probably about close to 150 meters, potentially. Just wish they would zoom in a bit so we can see what these guys are actually doing. I was actually thinking of making another video tomorrow about the Starship being stacked, but since I'm getting the tail end of them stacking the Starship on the booster, I'm not going to do that. So check in the description of this video or the stream. There should be a couple of links. One of them is to this actual site or NASA Spaceflight. The other one is to Everyday Astronaut, if I'm not mistaken, but I can change them afterwards as well if need to be. If you've got any suggestions on future videos or live launches or any questions, you can feel free to ask them in the comment section. And also I'm actually looking to having another live stream about some ghostly place as well in future, but that I think needs to be a night stream. So if you've got any suggestions in terms of scary places, I was actually wondering if they don't have a live cam, ghost cam type thing that one can log into and check out and just talk about it. Actually, probably end up making fun of it more than anything else, because most of these things aren't just stories. But in any case, let's get back to what we're looking at. Okay, so Starship almost stacked. And it seems like it's quite a mission getting this done, but I think the booster was more of an complicated thing to get onto the launch platform. Actually, they were planning to stack this yesterday, but Elon Musk tweeted some time ago, yesterday I think, that the wind was too much and they could not stack it. Well, I assume the wind died down enough for them to attempt this or do this today. I'm just really interested in knowing how long the Starship and the booster is going to stand like this before they take it down again, because I don't think they're going to leave it like this until launch. There's still a few things that they need to change and potentially do on the Starship and the booster. I intend to cover the ULA launch as well. Now, those of you that don't know, the ULA is the United Launch Alliance. They are launching the Boeing Starliner into space sometime soon. Was supposed to be the 3rd, but they delayed due to technical issues as well. So they are going to allegedly launch on the 8th. I'm not sure if it's still on the 8th, but I keep on delaying. And they are actually competition for SpaceX. And SpaceX launched, remember the Dragon capsule, the Crew Dragon capsule, that they, Dragon craft at least, that they used to resupply the International Space Station. And they've actually sent up crews on this Dragon craft a few times on a Falcon rocket. So the Boeing Starliner is supposed to become a competition for SpaceX, but they are behind like all the other companies, well, according to me at least. The rockets are of good quality and they've apparently had more missions, successful missions than anyone else, but I still side with SpaceX in that regard. Hey Gerrit, good to see you, man. I haven't been talking much lately. We should make a plan. Now, this thing is not going to take off soon, Gerrit. This is going to take a while. Most likely, I think, 3 weeks at least. And like I said, I think they're going to take the Starship down from the booster again. Because there seems to me to be a lot of things they still need to complete in terms of heat shield tiles. It's difficult to say from these pictures, but the previous pictures that I saw yesterday and so on, there's no way they can launch the Starship like this. There's too many heat shield tiles that they still need to complete on the tip. You can't see it from here, as far as I know, except if they did it when but I doubt it. But in any case, my suspicion is that they're doing this, stacking the Starship on the booster to check if, to do basically like a dry run or a trial to see if the infrastructure and the tower and everything is in order, and to maybe change some of the designs, which is what I think they're trying to do now. They might leave it there, I don't know, but that's going to make it difficult to edit or change anything of the design or finish the rest of the remainder of the heat shield tiles and so on. So I doubt they're going to leave it like this until they launch. It's going to make it quite difficult to work on it if they needed to. I'm not sure if the plumbing inside these rockets are completed yet. I'm not sure. But I think there's still some refinement needed before they launch. And they, as much as they want to launch this rocket as soon as possible, they need to ensure that this rocket works. Because if it works, it's going to inspire investor confidence, and it will draw more people towards SpaceX. And the thing is also to get people excited about space again, like they used to be in the Apollo era. So that's one of the things that SpaceX, or Elon Musk specifically, wants to do. That's a good question. Payload or mission, in regard to this rocket, I doubt there's going to be anything real payload in here. But we know Elon Musk. If he can launch a Tesla Roadster, his personal Tesla Roadster, into space just for the hell of it, there might be a surprise. Maybe he's going to launch a Cybertruck in this one. But I don't know if he drives one of his Cybertrucks. I know he launched his Tesla Roadster. This is the funny part. In terms of his Tesla Roadster that he launched, the Tesla Roadster that he launched actually had a small, well, firstly, it had a mannequin with a starship, or a space suit on, inside the Roadster, and on the dashboard of the vehicle, the Roadster, there was actually a sign that says "Don't panic" on the front of the dashboard, on the computer screen or something. And so yeah, you'll see that in the intro video as well. Not on this intro video because I made a bit of a hash of things there, but usually you'll see it on my intro video. But also he had on the dashboard as well, a small little Tesla car, a Roadster, with also a small mannequin with a spacesuit on it, on the dashboard. And the reasoning behind this apparently was something along the lines, they said, or he said, if someone finds this car in space one day, like aliens or whatever, they're going to think, what the hell is wrong with these humans or these things? What did they pray to this thing? What's going on? So that's quite a funny story, but so you never know what they're going to launch on this thing. I don't think there's going to be any, well, on this specific one, there's going to be no payload as far as I know. It's going to launch from Boca Chica Starbase. The booster will splash down about 20 kilometers away from Boca Chica in the Atlantic Ocean, as far as I know. And obviously the booster is like I said, it's like a tugboat. There could be comparisons, I think, but in any case, the booster basically pushes the Starship up into orbit, but it comes down before it exits the Earth's atmosphere. So then it splashes down. That's the reason why it doesn't have any heat shield tiles. So then the thing is, the Starship is going into orbit. I don't know how many times it's going to go around Earth, or if it is going to go completely around Earth, but it's going to re-enter close to Hawaii and splash down about 100 k's from the coast of Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so I don't think there's going to be any payload in this one. But in future ones, I wouldn't be surprised if Elon Musk launches something crazy on this thing. And there we can see they're almost finished with the stacking. That's very close to being finished. Yeah, so it's an interesting journey that's taking place now. And look, for all we know, this thing might explode in mid-air or while still on the ground. We don't know. We know quite a few starships blew up and crashed, but they fulfilled their purpose. It's not just about the flight, it's about the operation of getting something to space and getting the infrastructure in place and running the way it should. So it's a whole entire journey, and they actually plan for many of these things to explode, and they get valuable data from these explosions and mishaps and so on. So we don't know if this is going to be a huge firework or if it's actually going to work. I'm really hoping it does, because that will be a huge milestone, and it will, well, it's already getting a lot of people interested in space, just like Elon Musk's Tesla. Many people said, why is this rich guy launching stuff into space for no reason? But the thing is, it got so many people interested in space. Starman is still up there orbiting the sun. The life game is not working anymore as far as I know. But it would be interesting to actually get that the Roadster back to see the degradation, or what happens to him or it and the car. But yeah, there's many reasons for him launching that into space. Not just the fact that Tesla is owned by him, which is actually, if I were in issues, a good thing to do. A lot of marketing, and Tesla and SpaceX don't really market themselves. The way they market themselves, as far as I know, is through word of mouth and the proof of the products working, which is quite cool. So yeah, it's pretty much done. It takes a while for the Starship to be lifted into place on top of the booster, and like the booster, it took, well, 4 hours, give or take, to get the booster to the launch pad. Now imagine if they want to make this thing totally reusable on a daily basis. They're going to have quite a few boosters. Like I said, you don't need as many boosters as Starships if the concept works, because then you can, the thing is, they want to launch a Starship on a booster, return the booster, refuel it and launch it again in about 2 hours. Can you imagine that? So in other words, you can launch a number of Starships on one booster per day. And the actual initial goal for Elon Musk was to colonize Mars. It still is his main objective. But to get there, he's doing all of these side things to get the ball rolling and keep it rolling until he can finance the whole operation. To build like 1,000 Starships, I think he said he wants to build 1,000 Starships in 10 years or something. But to get that done is gonna, take some doing. But I've got no doubts that the guy can do it. He's proven himself time and again with a few things. Look at all these companies. The boring companies, actually, one of them, Tesla, Neuralink, obviously SpaceX. But all these companies seem to be working in conjunction to get the ball rolling and keep everything going. And now the thing is to get humanity motivated and excited about space travel and stuff like this. And this is actually making space more accessible at a fraction of the cost, because it's reusable. Falcon rockets already did that to a large degree because they're partially reusable. As to when this rocket's going to launch, I'm not sure. That's, well, your guess is as good as mine. But in any case, Gerrit, if you're still watching, how are you guys doing there in the UK? Yeah. So Starship Prototype 20 has been mated with Super Heavy 4. Yeah, so it's actually pretty much been done now. I don't know how long it's going to remain like that before they take it off to make adjustments and finish whatever they need to do on the infrastructure in terms of tower and support tower, launch support tower. But let's see. The funny thing is that launch support tower you see next to the Starship, there's a lot of work still to go into that. There's some catch mechanism supposed to go on there. I'm wondering if the catch mechanism is going to be used to put the Starship and the booster on top of the tower, or the Starships on top of the booster that comes on top of the tower. That should be quite interesting to, well, witness if it ever does happen. But if it does, it's probably going to be, well, near the end of this year or early next year. Well, I suspect quicker. Yeah, no, it's actually last week or two it's been quite right here in terms of weather. Thanks, Gerrit. But it was, some people say it's been the coldest 10 years, in 10 years or something to the likes. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's definitely been colder than last year, I think, or the last 3 or 4 years. But I think we've had a cold winter year in the last 8 years or so. No, funny we're speaking about weather during a space report or so on. But in any case, the funny thing, let's talk about weather. The funny thing is how they report the weather. I've seen farmers with videos of the spraying mechanisms on their lands or their fields or whatever that's frozen. There's icicles hanging everywhere. Everything is frozen. There's ice everywhere. The water ponds are frozen. And the guy says it's -14, but the weather bureau says it's, or SA Weather or whoever says it's like -4 or something. Yeah, so you never know who to trust in terms of weather. I'd rather trust the guy on the ground. But I'm glad it's going good that side in the UK. Yeah, South Africa has been chaotic over the last 2 months. I think you have many family members here, and I think I don't know how well or good the news coverage is that side in the UK, but over here, yeah, it's been a rough few months. Well, at least it's quiet now. I don't see any looting occurring currently. But it's funny, the way people greet each other now. When they say bye, it's like, stay safe. You'll notice at the end of my video, I usually say the same thing as well. I think I've said it in a previous video as well, but I've heard previously that Elon Musk bought the company that supplies the cranes for the lifting at the starbase, that Mechazilla or Cranezilla crane next to the Starship. I think he bought the company, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty smart thing to do. If you have the money, you're going to save a lot of money by doing that, because he uses it on a almost daily basis. And there's no mechanism on the tower as such yet to put the booster and the Starship on there. No, it's definitely better lately. Thanks, Gerard, for asking. There's not been that much chaos that I'm aware of. Always rumors, of course, but most of these rumors are BS. Don't want to pay them much attention if they say something is going to happen or whatever. It just tends to spread fear, unnecessary fear. If it's credible, yes, but it never is, so not much use listening to the fearmongers, if I can put it like that. But I guess, then again, it's probably good to be prepared to a certain degree for anything. Seems like they're done with the stacking. Yeah, so I think I'm going to enlarge this for a second. Give me a second. There you can see the nose cone now. See what I mean by there's still too many heat shield tiles missing. If it comes back into the atmosphere like that, it's going to be no use. There needs to be black all over. The heat shield tiles are black, so it needs to be covered in heat shield tiles. I can see there where it's attached to the crane. Obviously there's a few white spots there that they probably cover up after they've put it in place, but the point is it needs to be covered up. It can't exit. It can exit, but it's not going to be able to enter the atmosphere. It's going to burn up or take heavy damage if it goes and comes back like that. So that's an indicator to me that it's not done yet. They still have work to do on the Starship and the booster. So the launch is not going to be in the next 2 or whatever weeks. It's going to take some time, I suspect. So that's why I'm saying I think this is like a pathfinder for them, to check the infrastructure and see how they're going to stack it and if they can stack it and so on. So yeah. And the tower itself, there's a lot of work still to go into the tower. That you see next to it, let me just refresh. On the bottom section, those tanks are for refueling the Starship and the booster. And that's also still in progress. It's not completed like most of the things here, but it's one thing that I kind of understand why Elon Musk operates the way he does. He doesn't design something and then complete it. There it's done. You know, he designs a thing, starts testing it and working on it to see if it's working and if he needs to change something. So he doesn't have to complete something and then rebuild it because it doesn't work. The same with the Starship. They didn't build like NASA a huge center, a massive building where they construct stuff. They literally, started building these things basically in a field. Or, tents, to be honest, it was tents. And they're actually only expanding the high bay now, where they should be able to stack up to 4 boosters at once. So it's going to be extended, not extended, but they're building a new one next to it. So it's quite a bit of evolution involved in this whole process. Thanks, Gerrit. Appreciate that, and thanks for checking in. I hope it's going good. And are you going to start another channel? I'm quite interested to know, actually. But in any case, thanks for popping in and enjoy the rest of your work day. If you're still on, what time is it there in the UK now? I think it's an hour later or earlier or something like that. But in any case, keep well and keep safe. And yeah, pop me a message later tonight or so. Okay, I think I'm going to end the stream there. Just give me a second. I'm just going to enlarge this thing for a second. Okay, thanks for popping in and checking the updates. I'll keep you updated as per usual, and there will be another live stream or video soon, but after the weekend most likely. Except if you've got a ghost story for me, then I can, or a camera, live cam footage or whatever, then we can talk on a live stream through the weekend, but I doubt it very much. But in terms of space, that's my update for today. Yeah, and as per usual, sorry, give me 1 second. I just want to see something else here. Yeah, seems to be in order. Okay, guys, as per usual, subscribe on the button on, I think it's the right hand corner. Subscribe to my channel to keep updated with space related topics and SpaceX specifically. Subscribe to NASASpaceflight, Boca Chica gal. It's thanks to them that we're getting these awesome images. So subscribe to them, and yeah, I think that's about it. And enjoy your weekend. And yeah, I think, sorry about that. Stay safe, keep well, and don't panic.